Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show today. We're going to have a great show today. It start with an incident that occurred with me at Starbucks, and I want to go through that. I want all my listeners to stay with me, irrespective of who you are, irrespective of what you look like. Please, before we begin, I want to remind everybody to share the show. That's the first thing I'd like to ask you to do, and that is to share the show right away so that we can take care of making sure other people see it. It is essential, folks. It is very essential, and excuse the little thing here. It is essential that what we do going forward, and it seems like we have a little issue here. There we go. Get rid of that. Okay, good. It is essential that if we want folks to see and to get these concepts that we're discussing to move on forward, that we share these shows desperately. The way Facebook and all these other companies are working, they're restricting. I don't want to put the onus solely on progressives, but progressives seems to be taking a harsher look at what gets out there. So please, the first thing I'd like to ask you to do, share the program right now. Secondly, I want to remind you that this is a call-in show, and what that means is that you have the ability to call and speak to us. The telephone number is 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. No matter what you have to say, no matter your point of view, no matter what, this is your platform. You own this show. You have the ability to say whatever it is that you want to say on air with me, as long as you don't use obscenities, of course. But give us a call, because I tell you what we're trying to do here is give you something that you don't get in other places. This is a station that belongs to you. This is a station where your voice will be heard. And it's not only here on Facebook Live. It's on Blog Talk Radio. It's on the Coffee Party Network. It's on the Pacifica Network. So you have a wide distribution of whatever thought process that you have, that you'll get out there. And unlike other stations, you have a voice. This is your show. You have a voice. Please, firstly, share on Facebook if you're on Facebook right now. Otherwise, if you're looking elsewhere, share the podcast when it's released. Let's go ahead and make sure this occurs. Thirdly, I'd like to remind you as well that this is progressive radio, and unlike the right, we don't have those great big donors, so I want to advise you to please take a look at that screen. Patreon.com/politics done right. Support progressive radio. We work hard to ensure that you are not influenced or get undue influence from the corporatocracy. That is our promise. I'm heading to Washington, D.C. on Thursday. We are going to be covering, actually on Fridays, it'll be after the KPFT show. We'll be covering the march, the gun rally in Washington, D.C. And for those of you who sign up as patrons, you will have an application you can have on your phone or on wherever, and see directly from the crowds where we will be with a press pass, being able to give you direct access to this thing. In other words, you are going to have full access to to whatever is happening out there at that march. So please go ahead, become a patron. Patrons will have live coverage of the event. Again, let me tell you, if you become a patron of Politics Done Right, you will have live coverage of the event with the Patreon app. That is patreon.com/politics done right for the people on Blog Talk Radio. Patreon is spelled patreon.com/politics done right, all one word. I'm asking you to go ahead and look. It is give a coffee or so to, to support progressive media. And what does that do for you? It ensures that you don't only hear it from the point of view of MSNBC, CBS, NBC, and all these other stations who must be by definition in bed with the corporatocracy, the people who advertise with them. For you, our supporters, the only people we owe honesty and truth to is you. You're the only person, only people we owe anything to. So again, let's go ahead and share these programs. Let's go ahead and remember this is a call-in show. Let's go ahead and remember to support us at patreon.com/politicsdoneright. It's right there to the bottom of your screen. We also have a link on Facebook directly to this address as well. Now, it's a call-in show, and I'd like you to call in because you are the ones who can make this show even better with your ideas. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. This is your show. Okay, so what is the title of the show? The title of the show today, and folks, I don't play the race card at all. Let me just be clear with that. I do not play the race card. All the people who know me knows that. Now, however, there's an incident that that happened to me at Starbucks. Then another incident that a friend recounted in the after I wrote the little piece, and I think it's instructive. And all my listeners, I want all of you, irrespective of who you are, irrespective of your ethnicity or whatever, this is important. The concept here is important, and I really want you to stay with me. And share, I need you to, because this is how we make progress on these issues throughout the country. Anyway, the title of the program. These incidents are examples why people of color must stay clear of justice system. And I really mean that. Some people don't believe that I really mean that when I say that. I really mean that. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudman. Welcome aboard, Bruce. Welcome aboard, Heather Soper. Welcome aboard, Theron Kenneth Carr. Okay, here it goes. Subtitle: When a blind justice system can be corrupted by prejudice, judgments, or skewed. Some think I am overreacting to an incident that occurred to me at Starbucks. I am exposing it because it is simple. It's a simple thing that in other forms can escalate. I mean, with me, it wouldn't have escalated because of the sort of, the attitude that I take is usually non-confrontational. I read people, and I'm able to sort of judge where to take things most of the times. Okay, but for generally speaking, it can be problematic. There are some points that I'm going to want to go over after I discuss the incident, and it's going to be things like crime data, crime visualization, witnesses' realities viewed through the lens of prejudice. In other words, witnesses, when they see things, sometimes they see things through a colored lens, a lens of, their own lens of prejudice. I mean, at the time that I was a homophobe, no longer, I can say that I'm not a recovering anti-homophobe. I'm cured. And I explained that on several shows several times before. But it is easy to be colored through your prejudice, irrespective of the type of prejudice that we're talking about. And it is something that we have to be cognizant of. Heather, you said that your video is freezing. You just let me know if that continues. And anybody else, if you're having any kind of problems with the video, let me know. But as far as we're seeing here, transmission is total, complete, and not problematic. But anyhow, let's continue. Before I get into the program from the news feeds, Uber has removed its self-driving cars from the roads following what is believed to be the first fatality. I'm so sorry to hear that. Secondly, a 13-year-old kid, and I have it expanded a little bit more in the blog, but a 13-year-old kid, a 9-year-old kid killed his 13-year-old sister because she wouldn't give him the remote. So, we're going to be in Washington, D.C. talking about guns and just having too many guns and having the wrong kind of guns. These are the things that happens when you have guns in the home. And you can talk about gun safety or whatever. It only takes one accident to snuff a life out. It is something that we must be serious about. Okay, folks, I am going to go into what we know as the blog of the week.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, the weekly blog post today is titled, "This story indirectly illustrates why people of color must fear American justice system." Now, I brought up the word people of color. My dear great white listeners, stay with me. Okay? I mean, a lot of times when we start talking racial issues, a lot of people start to exit the door. Let's not do that. Remember who I am, and the attitudes that I take are always not using the what is it called? The racial card? I don't play the racist card or whatever card it's called. What I am into are solutions, fixing issues, fixing problems, and trying to get us to overcome our own prejudices. I am not self-righteous. I myself have had my own prejudices, so I am not coming from the point of view that says, "Oh my God, you bad white people." Look, you don't solve a problem that way. You solve a problem by realizing we're all human beings, and not only are we all human beings, but we all have the same issues. It so happened that because in America we also have something called white supremacy, it makes the triangulation of these issues a little bit more difficult. But I do my thing from the point of view that we are all human beings. We all have the same proclivities to do good and the same proclivities to do wrong. That I try my best to put that out there first so that everyone is comfortable as we discuss uncomfortable issues. So all of us can be uncomfortable in our comfort, if you know what I mean. Anyhow, there is a lot of evidence out there that proves it is essential that people of color do as much as possible to engage our justice system to not engage our justice system until we successfully find mechanisms to mitigate its biases. You see, it reflects its participants at large, whether you're talking about judges, juries, or witnesses. So it is because we are made up of those people that make up our country. All the ills that are within that country are also within the justice system. Now, today meaning Saturday, an incident occurred in the parking lot that gave me pause because of the perspective of one who could have been a witness. Her voice in our justice system would have corrupted truth. What do I mean by that? Here is the incident, and I'm going to describe the incident, and I described it on my Facebook page, and there's a link to the Facebook page where a healthy discussion with all points of view from people of all kinds giving their input. I loved it. I loved the discussion because it opened minds and it let people think places that they hadn't thought of before. Anyhow, here's the story. Those of you who know me know that while I discuss race, I make sure to never use the race card, as I think it really defeats the fundamental racial issues. In this country, I understand the biases in this country very well. One of the reasons I have always said I do what is necessary to stay clear of the justice system is because it represents all the biases endemic within the population at large. Now that I've made that preface, here is my story. I drove up to Starbucks and was backing up into a parking spot. A young kid driving likely did not see my reverse lights. He probably didn't see the reverse lights at all. I was backing up at a crawling pace. When he realized I was backing up, he started to back up without looking back, slowly as well. He backed into a very expensive SUV that sustained no damage. This was all in slow motion. Everything was moving very slowly. The young white kid jumped out of the car, very apologetic to the guy driving the very expensive SUV. By the time I got out of my car, all I heard was this white middle-aged man screaming at the top of his lungs at the young kid, who by now was scared and completely red-faced. The kid just made a mistake. My kid could have done that. Your kid could have done that. Driving slow and backing up, probably had his music on and backed up into the SUV. Mistake. Yes, the kid was wrong. He made a mistake. But there's no reason for somebody that could be his dad or maybe his granddad needed to react as he did. He was screaming at the top of his lungs. So here you have a not an elderly, but a middle-aged white guy screaming at a young white kid, and everybody at that Starbucks could see exactly what was occurring. By the time I got out of the car, again, he was screaming. There was a white woman I don't know sitting at the outside table. She saw everything verbatim. She could see my car, the SUV. She saw everything perfectly. And then there was another white woman there who's a friend of mine that she was sitting down to the back. So before I got to her, I asked the woman up front exactly what happened, why the guy shouting as he did, because I figured maybe the kid came out of the car with a rude attitude and all of that. Her response, she first gave me a look, right? And for those of you who are, and to my, people of color know a certain look that they get, a certain look of disdain, disgust, or, you kind of have a feeling for that. It's not something that you can easily express. But then what came after was her words. And she said something to the effect, and let me read what I said. I said, I asked the first one what happened. I was shocked at the way she told me the story. She said, because I was backing up into the parking lot, and I kind of wrote it wrong. She said, I was backing up into the other guy. That's what she really wanted to say. I was backing up into the young kid's car. I forced the kid to back up so I would not hit him, and he in turn hit the SUV. So in other words, this woman was saying, it is my fault. Here it is, the young kid made a mistake, simple mistake. He backed up without looking. Not only that, if he was looking and he had to stop, I was moving at a crawl space. I could have seen his car stopped and I would have stopped, so there would have been no collision or anything of the sort. The kid simply collided into the SUV. That is what occurred. But in that woman's eyes, the fault began with me. And I had to make that decision in my head, like everybody does. Why would she, seeing the entire incident, thought it was necessary to throw blame on me? What is the difference between me, the kid, and the guy who was acting like an animal? The white guy who was driving the SUV, and that is one of the reasons I brought it up, right? Because the roles that you saw here was you saw this white guy beating up on this young white kid for barely tapping his car. I am gentle. I'm out of my car. I'm nice to the woman. And her thing wasn't to say that guy is an a-hole by talking to the kid like that for a simple mistake. Her thing was, of all this incident that is occurring, I am to be blamed. So my thought was, to me, and again, as some of the people expressed on the Facebook page, you could be Egberto. Maybe it had nothing to do with race. You know what? And those people, I accept that statement that they made on the Facebook page. Some people said there's a possibility that it's not race. Some people, especially most of the white people, came out and said that was absolutely a racist thing that occurred because the incident explained, as you said, that's the only way you could look at it. Some other people said, it is interesting because I think there were three of the black folks there actually said, well, you can't jump to race on that. Sometimes it's X, Y, Z or whatever. So it is interesting, the dynamic in that we are always trying, including myself, to say let's exhaust all possibilities before we go ahead and say, well, the only difference here is race. Now, after I thought about it, I went straight and said it had to be racial because, there's one middle-aged white guy behaving like an animal, beating up on this kid. And the first person this woman thought to blame was me, as far as somehow creating the incident. She didn't say, look at how that guy is behaving. And that was the disconcerting portion about it. So anyway, continuing with the blog of the week, to be clear, the kid never got close to my car. 2, I was moving very slowly. 3, the kid started backing up very slowly to ensure he did not obstruct the parking space I was backing into. And in not looking back, he tapped the bumper of the expensive SUV. Now, ultimately, the young kid made a mistake, and a middle-aged man showed little sympathy for a kid who made a mistake. The middle-aged man's kid could have made that same mistake. Anyhow, the other white woman, my friend, recounted the story exactly as I described it, and unlike the first woman who is in the telling of the story would have applied partial blame to me, my friend, of course, didn't. I do not overreact to anything, nor am I overreacting to this incident. I am pointing this out simply to say that given exactly what occurred, it is hard for someone like me not to look at this incident and seriously wonder if the first woman's perspective was race-based. Okay. If you are reading this comment is what I put in the blog post, in the Facebook post. I said, please go ahead and comment. I want to hear your opinion, irrespective of where you're from, irrespective of what you look like, irrespective of what you think. I really want to have opinions from all kinds of people to see what they thought. Anyhow, you may ask, what does this have to do with the justice system? After all, you saw what the title of my blog was. After all, I was not supposed to be a part of the incident that occurred, right? Had the expensive SUV been damaged and police officers came out to question witnesses, I could have been made a party to the accident had they spoken to that one witness. And that's where I talk about justice system and the justice system reflected through the eyes of the community at large. Because suddenly, something that I had zero blame for, I could have made a party of because of this woman's interpretation of what occurred. Think about that. And this was a simple car accident. This occurs in a whole lot of other things in our society, in a whole lot of other areas in our society. And that's where the 4 items I want to talk about, FBI data, who is violent and so forth, I want to talk about later on. But what I'm trying to say is out of the witness's eyes, that is where our justice system begins. The arrest by a cop, that is where the statistics for justice system begin. Folks, if you're just listening, please remember, please share this show. We need to ensure that these types of shows are shared throughout the internet, throughout Facebook, throughout Blog Talk Radio, and all over. And likewise, please remember to go ahead and email these things, if you will, as well. Anyhow, but as usual, there is always someone with a better story than the one that makes the point much better. A friend of mine, another friend, David Reed, left the following comment. This story is much, much better than the story that I just gave. And the reason why is this one was probative. Folks, please go ahead and share this program and stick with me because it gets better. This is what David had to say. He said, when I was in my 20s, I got out of the passenger side of a car at a local mall and stepped into an empty parking spot next to the spot the driver parked in. I was going to the mall with a bunch of cousins. I waved to my cousin in the other car that there was an empty parking spot. I was waving for maybe 30 to 40 seconds. Just then, a white middle-aged lady whipped into the parking spot I was standing in and almost hit me. I jumped. She then yelled, move out of the window. I said, lady, you almost hit me with my back to you. She then started blowing the horn loudly. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? She said she's going to get the mall security. I said, okay, do that. I'll wait for them here. A lady ran out of the mall and said that she saw the whole thing, that I had jumped in front of her car. Well, mall security came out, took their statement, and said I needed to move because they had called the cops. I said, okay, I'll move, but I'll wait for the cops. The cops came. I told them, I know there is a security camera looking here. My sister worked at the mall, so I know. I asked the cop if the ladies wanted to make the same statement knowing there is video evidence of her almost hitting me. The lady who almost hit me and the white bystander faces got red. The driver then shouted, there better not be any damage to my car when I come out. I waved and laughed at her walking off. My point is really about the bystander. No idea what she really thought she saw. Well, it was clear. It was clear from the reaction of the women in David's story that the malice from these women, or rather, in David's story, that the malice from these women, which would have had detrimental legal ramifications for him, was not subliminal, but it was intentional. The fact that after he brought up, I'll wait, let's see what the video has to say, and immediately the two of them are red-faced and leaving, proves that the story that they were going to concoct was not subliminal. In other words, it's not something that they saw through their prejudice. It was intentional prejudice, not subliminal prejudice. There's a difference. There's a difference. And so is the reality of people of color who enter into a justice system. It's the same reason why a professional like myself, a business owner, an educated person, a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, an engineer, I walk into the store, I'm still followed. I am still followed. I am not stealing anything. A lot of the folks that are stealing are the ones who are not being followed. Think about that. So that is a reality. And so is the reality of people of color who enter into a justice system that preaches to be colorblind. What colors the juries, judges, the prosecutor's sense of justice? One could say, well, that could apply to many other attributes other than race. That would be, and is likely true. The issue is that racial dimension is that more pervasive and over-encompassing and immutable. How could our justice system be colorblind or unbiased when the building blocks of society are its raw materials? We live in a society where not even irrefutable video evidence can get police officers and sometimes just citizens convicted of murdering people of color. Example, Trayvon Martin. I wrote a story that said, I was Trayvon Martin when I came to this country. For those who don't know, I'm originally from Central America. If you get a chance to read that story, I think I have a link somewhere around there. Read that article that I wrote when I said I was Trayvon Martin when I came to the country. And the reason I said that is because when you are first presented to somebody, the only thing they see is you and all the internal prejudices that they have towards you. And that goes with anybody. But that's all they see, you. And until you become a friend, until you become XYZ, all these preconceived misconceptions are there. And that is what or where all of us need to move off from. Because the reality is, like I tell my audience all of the times, most people are good. The vast majority of people are good. When you start to create problems is when you start judging based on these preconceived notions that have been instilled in you by bad people. By bad people. We had a bad government, we had a bad system, we had all these things that have screwed a whole lot up. And it is on us to really change these things. What I tell people of color right now is you do as little as possible to interface with the justice system until we fix society at large. Until we fix society at large, people of color will at best get marginal, substantial justice based on the prejudices of the people that are going to be sitting with them in judgment. And that's just a fact. The only legal recourse you have is that of your community. And the expectation or hope that those that are sitting in judgment of you are somehow going to attempt to do it in an unbiased manner as possible. Anytime I say something like that, the first thing that comes up is, didn't O.J. Simpson get off? Yes, he got off. Did he probably commit that murder? If I were a betting man, I would say almost sure he did commit that murder. But, most of us fall into the category where race matters. When you reach a certain socioeconomic level, race still matters, just not as much. And in OJ's case, just not as much. So these are the kinds of things that we have to discuss. Anyhow, how could our justice system be colorblind or unbiased when the building blocks of society are its raw materials? We live in a society where not even irrefutable video evidence can get police officers and sometimes just citizens convicted of murdering people. People of color, that is. Now, I urge you to go ahead and visit the blog that we have, the blog that I just read. There are links to the discussion that's going on Facebook, and it's a healthy discussion, and we have a lot of intelligent people, and we have a lot of women out in that that post who gave classes on defeating racism, or classes on how to defeat racism, and there's one woman particular, I think her name is Kuhn, who gave us a video, a wonderful video that's about an hour long, that I think everybody needs to watch, and it's right there in the thread, and the thread is a link to the story that I just read, and this story is within the Facebook, within the blog for the show. So that is important. Folks, this is a call-in show. The telephone number is 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Look, a lot of times when we're talking racial issues, some people don't want to call in, they don't want to make comments or whatever. That's not how we operate here at Politics Done Right. Politics Done Right, everybody have an open opportunity to say whatever they want to say, and we are non-judgmental, meaning I don't change my opinion. I have a whole lot of friends of just about it, every kind, race, every whatever. I can tell you there's nothing any one of these folks have told me that changed my opinion of them, because however they are, I have, most of the times, I had already inferred. So, I mean, there's nothing that they could say that they hadn't already inferred with the things that they've said in passing or talking or whatever. So with me, like I tell people all the time, let's go ahead and have the real conversation. And when you have the real conversation, we can make progress. I want to just say one other thing here, because I like to take it to the limit. I'm a national blogger, and I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of hate mail, and I'm coming to you 213. I get a lot of hate mail. I get all of that. Now, I even get people writing me detailed letters calling me the N-word or whatever. And it's interesting because the N-word really has zero effect on me, right? I mean, you can call me any number of time you want. I mean, for me, it's like, are you having a bad day or something? Or, what's going on? Feeling sick? Or because personally, I've always thought, and I've thought this from the time I came to this country, walking in Brenham, Texas, and somebody shouting out "N" from a pickup truck in Brenham, Texas. I had I had gone to the spot where it was like, how can people make a word change their life? How can people make a word have so much influence on them? It is like saying, I am going to give power to that other person who uses that word on me to somehow be able to adjust my feelings or feelings of my worth or whatever. Never happened to me. So, like I said, none of those are not the cues that I drive off them. You want a cue that knocks me out? When I go to a bank and say, I want $40,000, and my friend goes to the bank and asks for $40,000, he has no credit, I have perfect credit, and he gets the loan, and they laugh at me and tell me, don't even try. That is how I got started in business. Now that had a material effect on me. You know who he was, you know who I am. I didn't get the loan, he did. By the time I had collateral and didn't need the loan, I went back to the same bank and said, okay, I'm coming for the loan. When they said, you have collateral? Yes, and guess what else? You're going to give me that loan. What I'm trying to say is, it is important that when we discuss these issues, we discuss these issues for real and not worry about the incidentals, because the incidentals don't matter. Okay, let's go to 213. Oh, wait a minute. Is this my friend from California again? This must be Real Brother. Is this Real Brother?
Yeah, Yes, real brother here. Great to have you. Don't be afraid.
I am never afraid
Good
of
for
you.
your show. Shoot.
Listen, real brother,
All right, don't be.
real brother, I love you. Okay. Sometimes if you, I want to tell you to please shut up because you don't give me a chance to talk. But I love you, man. Come on, say your word, say your piece.
All right. Well, yeah, it's an interesting discussion. Now, a couple of things that you talked about. You said you don't play the race card,
Yes.
and then you talked about white supremacy.
Yes, I do.
And that's the race card.
No, that's
okay?
no,
White
brother.
people aren't superior.
No, that's not the race card. No. That's not
There's no.
when you say
It's the myth of.
no, I know it's a myth, but I have to still say it, and here's why you have to say it, brother, real brother.
They race.
White supremacy, that concept is something that is really it's how the current capitalist world has been built on white supremacy. You can say that's a race card or not. It is not a race card. It's a reality. Go ahead, my friend.
It's not true. It's a fallacy.
Okay, go ahead.
If white people were superior, would they have to kill everybody who wasn't white? Would they have to discriminate?
No.
Would they have to enslave you? Would they have to oppress you? Would they have to deny you? Would they have to lie to you?
You misunderstand.
Would they? If they were,
No, brother
George,
John.
Michael George,
Real brother.
Obama have to kill Hillary? He have to kill John McCain? Did he have to kill or disenfranchise or discriminate against Mitt Romney?
No.
Does Michael Jordan have to discriminate against Larry Bird? No. Why? Because they can beat. Do the Philadelphia Eagles have to discriminate against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots? No. How come? Because they weren't superior.
Real brother.
It's just a lie.
Real brother, listen to me, real brother, and this is the answer. White supremacy, the concept of white supremacy does not say white people are superior. It says that sir, remember what we said? We're going to try to have a conversation. All right, let's go. White supremacy. White. Okay.
We have an honest conversation.
Yes. So you stop now. Let me make my point, and then I'll let you back in. All right. Here is white supremacy simply states that is the concept under which the country and the Western powers were founded. Okay. It's not saying that these people are superior. Many of them think they're superior, but we all know the reality. But the concept of white supremacy is simply that the concept of what some of these leaders that have fooled most of their people believe. Nothing more, nothing less. Now you talk, sir.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's wrong. First of all, the myth of white supremacy was created by white people because they could not compete with Africans and ethnic whites that had studied for 8 million years in Africa before we came over here. So the truth of the matter is that whites are not superior, and so they created the myth of white supremacy, and black people have bought into the myth of white supremacy because black people come from a culture, like I was telling you last time, black people come from a culture that doesn't lie. There aren't a whole bunch of black people running around Africa arguing that they're superior for some reason. They're not. Africans, where are you from? You're from an African country, aren't you?
No, I'm from Central America, Panama. But look, all black people are their genesis is the same place, okay? Whether you're in America
people in Panama don't give credence to somebody running around talking about they're superior just because they're white or just because their skin is lighter than yours. No, you have to show and prove. You have to prove you're superior to be considered superior. You can't just say you're superior and then they elect Donald Trump. No, you have to show your superiority. And if you can't do that, then you can't make the claim. Now, why would black people who have been running circles around white people for millions of years, why in the hell would we let a race of third graders argue that they're superior?
Okay,
let
me interrupt right there now that I've given you that chance to talk. First of all, I think the literature is clear. There is no superior race, period. Okay, and first of all, race is sort of a oxymoron. All right, that you have black pigmentation versus no pigmentation or whatever. It is race or pigmentation has so little to do with a person. But wait, hold on, real brother. Let me tell you, I got to ask you to hold a second. I'm going to ask you to hold a second because what I want to do is I want to go to the Facebook page. The last time you were on, you dominated the conversation, and then we left out the people on Facebook. We can't do that. So I'm going to put you on hold a bit and keep you hot and come back to you. And other people that are listening, don't let Brother John dominate the conversation, okay? I love the guy. He has his opinion. Some of them I don't know where it comes from, but he has his own opinions. But I'd like other people to call in with opinions. Don't be scared. Just call in and say your piece. I'll give you the same latitude that I give Brother John to say things whether I agree with it or not. 646-716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Rubkin says, can almost sound... okay, I won't go there. Milton, as dumb as I am, RB, do you think you're going to get anywhere by insulting people on here? First off, being respectful of others would... Yeah, that's true, Milton. I mean, and as you see, that's how I conduct myself. I make sure to respect everybody, including Real Brother. In as much as Real Brother has disrespected me quite a bit. But I believe a lot of times as you rub on people, you know, you can actually get that conversation going. So I'm going to get Real Brother yet. Let's see. Norman Bank, how are you? I'm fine. Heather Soper, you're from UK, London. Welcome aboard. I can actually say that I have several listeners from London. I have several from Canada, even some countries in Africa. Okay, we have... I hope your video is no longer freezing. Bruce here will be marching in Houston Saturday. You know what, Bruce? I'm glad to hear that you're going to be marching here in Saturday. I'll be in Washington, D.C. doing my march there. And let's see. Michael Rudwin, we need to fix our two-tiered injustice system. You're absolutely right. Marianne Castiglia, no issues in the video here. Thank you, Marianne. Gibson, I am going to look into Marxism. It must be a good ideology if Real Brother keep accusing us of being Marxist. All right. Chase K. Escamilla, love it. Okay, Theron, Milton Gibson, come on, you don't need to call anybody dumb, brother Kenneth. I'm going to come back to you in a second. Let's see, Michael Redwin, Theron, Kenneth, Cal, do you have trouble recognizing sarcasm? Norman Bank, thank you so much for choosing to, thank you so much for choosing to grow and let go of homophobia. I love and appreciate this very much. I have learned that the only hope for racism eradication is to pray habitually for racists. Continue the fabulous prayers. I want to address you on that, Norman. That's an important statement, and that is a statement that I had to... Whenever I'm talking about race or whenever I'm talking about prejudice or whatever, one of the reasons I'm generally successful in doing that is because I first accept that people react or behave like people, and we have a whole lot of prejudices. Racism has a special prejudice because of the history, but there's also sexism, there's homophobia, and all these other phobias. I am from Central America, a very homophobic part of the world, and that's how I came to this country. When on a business trip to China, I had a partner that tried to get me to explain to him why I was a homophobe and why I did not think people had a right to be whoever they think they are or whoever they are. And when I couldn't come up with a valid answer, it wasn't at all hard to intellectually change from being a homophobe to being a true person that says live and let live. And, you know, just like I can't understand racists, I can't understand homophobes or any of that. So I changed. However, for those people who are listening, there's an important thing you have to learn about changing one's way of thinking. And it goes as follows. It is easy to say you are no longer homophobic. And you see, you have a lot of liberals running around the place talking about how enlightened they are, right? They go out there and they are enlightened. They know these things. They know how they're supposed to be. You see, we know the rules. But most of the times, they are not living the rules. In other words, they believe in equality. They believe in integration. But if you look at their lives, it is all white. And that's what I tell people at not at Daily Coast, at Networks Nation all the time. If you really believe in the things that you're preaching, try to live it. You know, It's uncomfortable at first. The first time, my show at KPFT, Pacifica Radio, my show was right after the queer show. So I was in the green room with a whole bunch of gay guys, and I think 2 gay women. And I'll be frank, initially, it was a bit, I don't want to say uncomfortable, because by then I had already been to China. I'd already had the intellectual change in my mind. But it was still the thing of not being there yet. In other words, the animal brain, the animal part of your brain that sees something different and resist and react was still there. So I saw 2 guys kissing. The animal part of your brain is the first thing that reacts, and then then it's like normal. For the racists, the first time they see an interracial couple, they first react. And the liberal then says, oh, that is okay, animal brain, that is all right. But liberals are that stage where I was. In other words, a lot of liberals, that is, you know what the reality is, you know how things are supposed to be, but it is not yet permeated to your animal brain. I can tell you now that the side of me that was homophobic, both the animal side and the intellectual side, has been mitigated. We have to have liberals, progressives, and everybody else working on that, because that is where the change really occurs, because it is always easy to revert to the animal. The reason Donald Trump was elected is good people reverted. One of the reasons you always hear me talk about engaging the Donald Trump voter, I live amongst many of them. One of the reasons you always see me talking about engaging these people is as a human being, respecting everybody else as human beings, I realize that folks can change. Not only can they change, but I realize the structures that are used to confuse them, the structures that are used to activate your animal side, the structures that are used to change things. If you can get over that, then you can make a change. Brother Bunk, I hope, because you brought up the gay thing, I hope that tells you where I'm coming from and why I always tell that story. And the reason I tell that story is because I want those people that I'm trying to tell, you need to stop being a racist. Even though they think, oh, but I love equality and I'm a liberal. And I'm like, look, stop it. Until you live it. In other words, you're talking about wanting integration, you're talking about want equality, live it. Live it. Be uncomfortable. If you're a church-going person, maybe go once a month to a black church, a Latino church. That's the most segregated hour in this darn country. If you want to be a real liberal, a real progressive, live it. That is what it's all about. That is how you make a change. That is how progressives really become progressives, and we can really move forward. But there are a lot of progressives that voted for Trump because of that animal side of themselves that allowed that to happen. Okay, I'm going to bring back in my good real brother, and God knows what I'm going to hear from my good real brother. And folks, give me a call, 646-716-5812. Don't let real brother dominate the conversation. Real brother, you're back on.
All right, don't let real brother scare you.
Come on, you know you don't scare me. Real
all right, and let me say, I can't tell the truth. This guy said, let me read what Milton said about me.
Yes,
he said, oh my God, this dude, give him a tranquilizer. That's not an insult? That's not a Marxist insult by a dumb white supremacist?
No, don't call the guy dumb.
How do you...
Don't call him dumb white, and he shouldn't... And look...
How do
you... Sir, let me tell you, hold on a second.
How do you analyze...
I am going to agree with you.
What does he mean? Give me a...
Stop. Do you want me to agree with you when you're
right
or
does he mean?
Not? Do you want me to agree with you when you're right or not?
I don't want you to agree and that you insult me. You're insulting me by suggesting these dumbass people are superior. That's an insult to me.
No, that's
because I know they're not superior.
No.
Why do you chose Donald Trump? These people are racist. They'll blow smoke up your behind, but these people voted for Trump because they're racist.
Real brother.
Now stop it.
Real
stop
brother.
lying.
Real brother.
Stop letting them lie to you.
Real brother, calm down. You're my friend now, okay? So calm down. Okay, listen. Look, everybody, listen to me. Are you listening? Real brother, are you listening? Yes or no?
I'm listening.
Good. All right. Listen.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay.
You ain't saying nothing.
All right. Every single human being have the proclivity to be racist. You have to, and you yourself have the proclivity to be racist.
No, that's false.
So
only whites can be racist because only whites have racist DNA, all right, that allows them to hate people based on their race.
no, that's a racist
All right.
statement.
So nobody black, nobody Asian has enslaved people for 450 years and all that stuff. Only white people have done that. Only white people have dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Stop.
Only white people murder kids.
No.
Coming out to 7-Eleven and say that if Obama had a son, he looked like Trayvon. Only white people do that.
No.
Ain't nobody black
That's
done
not
that.
Listen.
Ain't nobody black shot up a school because black and all that dumb stuff. Only white people do that.
All right, stop.
So
Real
stop
brother,
lying to these people. You ain't helping.
Real brother, stop it now. Stop it now. I've given you your latitude to speak. Okay, now I speak. Now, first of all, you're wrong about that. I'm not going to start talking about that. White people that kind of way. That's not the case at all. The case of all is human beings all have the proclivity to do things. It is true that in this country, the sin of slavery was effected by white people. That is absolutely so. It is also true that in this last several hundred years, the conquerors throughout the country, throughout the world, were in fact, white people conquering around the world. Those are truths. Now, don't turn that into something that is endemic to the DNA, because first of all, we all came from the same place. Now, secondly, let me make another correction to what you had to say. If there weren't, and I say this with care because I don't want to give enslavers an excuse. So for those who still have the enslaved in mind, this is not an excuse. But I want to remind folks that in Africa, when the slave trade was going on, it was black Africans selling other black Africans to white people who were selling them to these different countries. Let's not forget that. So what I'm saying is nobody's hands. Let me stop. I'll get you to come in after.
Damn.
Let me finish. Then you'll have your latitude to talk. We have to remember, no matter what you want to say, all humans have the proclivity to do good and bad. It has so happened in these last 400 to 500 years, the enslavers and so forth were white, but do not ever dare believe that somehow black folks don't do bad things. I don't want to bring in Idi Amin because Idi Amin had some interesting issues that you don't want to discuss. But you can bring in Mugabe and you can bring in some others. Now, the floor is yours for a minute or two, sir.
Now, first of all, no, that's a lie. Black people never sold black people into slavery. How slavery happened was white people came to Africa 650 years ago, Arabs and Jews. They did not enslave anybody. They did not drop any atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They did not kill Trayvon Martin coming out to 7-Eleven. They did not hate Obama because he was black. No, they learned for 150 years. And then after 150 years of Jews and Arabs learning from Africans, then they went out into the world and lied to everybody that they created civilization in Africa. And then they went to Africa and got 6 generations of black people to build African civilization in North America. And they lied to the black people, just like Bernie's lying to you, about how wonderful it was over there in North America, that they had all this great stuff and all this gold and diamonds and all these things. And when the black people got over there, they realized they didn't have nothing, that they were lying. They just wanted black people to build an African civilization in North America, which they were happy to do because they knew that people could not survive if they were not civilized, if they were not educated, and if they had no morality through religion. So that's how Africa came to build North America, not because we were slaves and we were meant to be slaves and we had enslaved some other people. We don't do that. We don't do slavery. We evolved past it. Now, I'm not saying that whites won't evolve past killing people because of their race, in 8 million years like African people did and how like Asian people did.
You got
But
15 seconds.
we can't take third graders who have yet to evolve and put them in charge of our government. So that's the whole purpose. The politics point of your show is politics. And the issue is, should we put people dumb people that want to accuse us of needing a tranquilizer, should we put those dumb people in charge of our government?
Okay.
And the answer is no.
All right, I got you. I got your mic on hold now, my brother. Now, you actually left me speechless, and I don't think anybody has ever done that before. But here's the deal. I wonder if you really believe everything that you just said. I really wonder if you really believe everything that you just said. Suffice it to say, I don't, and I think evidentiary facts would prove otherwise. The purpose of this show, again, is to create some sort of to have the harmony that is necessary. So let me first go back to the, to see if we have any more commentary, real brother. And then we're coming close to the end of the show. So, and before I get there, those people that are listening, Big Brother gets a lot of time to talk, mostly because nobody else is out there calling to come ahead and be. Now, if you get on to the show, I will flip mics to make sure that folks don't overtalk each other, etc. But we need a lot of you folks that have something to say. In fact, you're saying it some in the thread here, and those that are listening on Blog Talk Radio, go ahead and call. Go ahead and be a part of the discussion. One of the reasons, and this now is against Real Brother here. One of the issues that we have in our society today, and I'm going to just go on a quick monologue here, is that we allow loud voices to dominate. We allow loud voices to intimidate. We allow loud voices to stop the discussion. We have the right wing who talks a lot. They're loud. They're vicious. They're shouting all the time, and they're putting things down. And for the most part, many of the progressives just sit back because they don't want to be confrontational or they don't want to push back or whatever. Brother John comes in on this show with a point of view. And I imagine there are a lot of people that are listening to this and saying, this guy, I want to come back at that. But you sit back and you say, oh, well, that's the way we are going to win the progressive fight. The way we are going to get this country on track is whenever we have distorting forces, whenever we have lying forces, whenever we have misrepresenting forces that misrepresent and all these other issues, if those of us in the know don't push back and push back hard, I'm not saying to be rude. If you notice, I give Real Brother latitude. And there's a reason I give him latitude, because a lot of times you start saying you allow people to talk, they do a good job in discrediting themselves. I think Brother John, in everything that he said, he had about 2 or 3 good points that were true. Unfortunately, he colored a lot of those points with fallacies. But we're at the end of the show, and I'm going to give him, Brother John, a Real Brother, you only have 15 seconds for a closer, and then I'm going to have to cut the mic and close the show down. So here you go. You're on for 15 seconds, sir.
All right. Well, I just want to make sure. Yeah, everything that I say is based on fact. When they opened up those tombs, King Tut, Nefertiti, and all these people, they didn't have a mark on them. And if they had enslaved black people, then they would have their heads missing and they would have knives through their bodies and stuff like that. So they didn't.
Okay.
So that means that black people didn't kill them.
All right.
There's a 1.3 billion black people in Africa. If we wanted to kill 200 Jews and Arabs that came to Africa starving to death, we could have.
That's
we
15
didn't.
seconds. Got to cut your mic. Sorry about that, Real Brother, but I had to go. Folks, this is Politics Done Right. I'd like to remind you that this is a call-in show. I hope that as time goes on that you will go ahead and get the courage to call in. Likewise, I want to remind you guys to always share these shows, whether you're sharing it after the fact or not. I'd rather you share it during the show. That is how we actually make penetration into people's mind and let them know what's really going on. Let them hear the facts, and including including listening to Real Brother and knowing that there are people in this country that thinks like Real Brother and others that think like the Donald Trumps in the world, and that all of us have to find a way to come together and do this thing right. Now, also I want to ask you to go ahead and become a Patreon. I'll be going to Washington, D.C. on Thursday for the Saturday event, the march, the gun march. I'll be there. We'll have those of you who become subscribers to Politics Done Right. You will have live. I'll be going there with our press pass, and you'll have live coverage of the event coming directly from where it's occurring. You know, I mean, you're not going to have what ABC or whatever they have. We'll be right there in the middle of things for you. So I'm asking you to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. The link is also in the Facebook post for the show. Go ahead and let's go ahead and support Progressive Radio. Let's support people that are doing something positive to try to make us a better place, something positive to try to get us away from the corporatocracy. That is what we're all about here. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.